Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order what is the date today?
Environmental.
Today, July 25th, meeting for Environmental Matters Committee. And for the record, all the members are present. And I would like, is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
Move approval of the agenda as written.
Right here. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And
Who?
then
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the minutes from the July 23rd meeting.
Second.
and
I'm sorry.
23rd and 10th.
Oh, I thought we did the 10th previously, but if not, then the 10th.
Okay. Seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. On to legislation. We have 2025 continuation from our Wednesday meeting. And before we kick it over to staff, we have a pile of amendments. You should have a copy of the ordinance followed by 3 amendments hot off the press. And we're going to go through those today in addition to any other questions we may have remaining outstanding. So any remarks from staff or other guests before we get started? Okay.
Steve Rogers must be heard.
All right. And I guess before we get started with the amendments, I did have a couple of questions I was hoping to get answers to. If I can find those. I think one of them was, a couple of them regarded the report from MDE, the letter from MDE. It seemed like they had mentioned a couple of, I guess, deficiencies in the phase 2 that they wanted corrected. Have those been
to
made?
the application?
Yeah.
Yep. So there were comments submitted by the MDE. We have provided a first response to comments, closing several of those administrative requests on their part, providing the additional information that they requested with regards to the tables of the phase 2. There are 2 remaining comments. There is one comment regarding the correction of SDAT, and we are in the process of addressing that one. And then there was a comment with regards to, they asked if the city was in front of, in any other regulatory program. There was an issue with the city with stormwater and the stormwater permitting that's been resolved. We got the letter from EPA Region 3 that closes that out, and we will be that actually came the day after we submitted our first response to comments, so we'll be providing that, and then the SDAT, and that should address all comments by MDE.
Okay. And within a time frame before the federal applications due?
Yes, within a very short timeline, I would say.
Great. And has the city considered MDE's suggestions for having separate VCPs for each lot? What's the VCP stand for again? The
Voluntary Cleanup Program. So we have, and we actually walked the MDE through the intended process because from the very beginning, we understood that Weems Whale and Field had kind of a different driver behind it. So we had already discussed that option with MDE in our pre-application meeting. So they know that we're going in as one site, and that as soon as we have Weems Whale and Field recorded as its own parcel, that will get its own application and will become its own VCP site. As to whether there's any other subdivision of the site, that would be more of a decision about, it doesn't need to be. It'd be more influenced by whether there's any difference in the development of the two sides, whether the western portion might be on a different timeline. It is not required. It's a suggestion of the MDE. Honestly, it's probably to make things easier on them and not have to deal with the subdivision later, but it's always an option to subdivide if needed at a later date. So it's definitely not a requirement that it be subdivided. They're just more of a question as to what the eventual development plan is going to be for the site. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it seems like to me like it would make sense to have separate VCP voluntary cleanup plan for each side, right? As far as the west side and the east side, just because, again, keep our options open because we don't necessarily know what the time frame is going to be for CNI. If that gets held up or potential construction of city buildings gets held up for whatever reason, we can. And that's one of my amendments is to try to give us the flexibility. So if one's moving faster than the other, we might be able to get that one closed out, given back to the city. I'd rather. I want to be able to give us again the option to get remediation closed out and completed. Make sure that they don't get held up. And I think, because I think they're both going to be separate property or separate lots anyway, right?
Before you answer that, Mr. Chair, I guess I'd like to know what difference does it make whether we get it back as a complete project or get it back in increments? I'm not sure I see the desirability of getting it back in increments.
Again, because it may get developed in increments, and if CNI gets green lighted for one side or city building to the other, and CNI gets held up, we want to be able to have the right to be able to go in there and develop how we've outlined and get that closed out because remediation is going to be with the development. So one site could be finished and remediated and the other one's still under construction or even still under review of some fashion. And it just seems to me if it makes sense to be able to have separate plans and separate closeouts rather than having them tied together. Because if there's one piece lagging, it could hold up the entire plot from being closed out.
Well, I accept that as your answer. I'm not sure I subscribe to it, but I think that goes to a much bigger issue, which is I thought I understood from Director Jakubiak and from you that the development was the remediation. That as we go in and put, say, structured parking in, we're going to put a permeable barrier that goes on top of it. Is the Resiliency Authority doing the garage, the structured parking?
But we don't know what it's going to be yet. That's my point is,
Well,
I'm not arguing against remediation being a part of development. I understand the rationale. The point is we don't know what speed each development is going to happen at. We don't know if they're going to happen concurrent. We don't know if they're going to happen separately because we don't know what's going to get funded first. We don't know what's going to get approved first. This just seems to keep our options open. It doesn't say do remediation first. It just is.
I mean, that
Just
is
seems
the whole
wise to me.
catch-22 of this. The major's not in, so you can see him now. The major's out, so you can go in. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. We're signing off on something which I think is very important and could be a tremendous increase in value to the citizens of Annapolis. But I'm not sure what if it's being built. Who is doing the build? I think that's the question. Is there some notion that CNI will be doing some building during remediation? Is there some notion that the city is going to be doing some development as a part of remediation? I can't figure that out.
Ashley Leonard, Assistant City Attorney. Probably don't have a good answer for you because ultimately it sort of depends on how the CNI project unfolds. Because, that's a whole separate grant application. And again, we can put in all these applications, ideally what we want, but that's not necessarily what's going to be approved and given back to us. So as to the Resilience Authority will not be doing any development or construction out there. So it would probably be either the city and or PACA with its private developer, depending on how the CNI grant proceeds.
Okay, thank you for that. And that, so is there money in the CIP for the city's development of this? I mean, we're talking about the construction is the remediation. But as far as I can tell, we have no construction plans. We have no money for construction. I don't see how this works.
That's what we're trying to plan ahead for, because we don't have any money lined up for CNI except for $1 million from the city, $1 million from the state. We don't have any money lined up for any city facility improvements, but we have to get the ball rolling if we want to get the federal money and make certain assumptions and intentions. I mean, if it turns out that we don't have any money available for any of this work, presumably we're not going to be able to take advantage of the grant.
We're going to have to go through another budget season before the CNI grant would go in. So during those budget discussions, that would be when we determine what money is budgeted where and what we can realistically apply for the CNI, because that won't happen till at least next summer. So we can't, budgeting it this year would have been, we could have budgeted in there, but we have no use for it for a whole nother fiscal year, potentially, if not longer.
Alderwoman Felice?
I could offer just from the program perspective of the VCP, there's no significant downside to dividing it with the western parcel, eastern parcel, and Williams-Whalen Field, other than there would be another 45-day review period for the new applications, which wouldn't delay anything. And I don't think there would be any negative perception from the EPA Brownfield grant program if it was three contiguous or two contiguous properties. I mean, when we first did it, it was an evolving development plan, so we didn't really have any idea what was going to be on what parcel, so we kept it as one. So it's not, it doesn't, if we were to subdivide and do it as two, and they don't need to be they're already legally described, so it would just be submitting the applications and going through another application process with it. They're already characterized, they already have phase two, they have everything that they need. There's no downside with the EPA Brownfield program, and it's grading in the grant program. So if that is if we want flexibility that way, then there's probably no scenario where you need to couple them back together again later. There's no downside to doing one more application.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman?
I don't have a problem with us dividing the property, especially if it allows us to move more quickly on Williams-Whalen, which has been sitting vacant for 12 years, which means our young people have not had access to a field that is city-owned. And I think that's an abomination, to be honest with you. So if that will help us in that respect, not that CNI isn't important and we want to move that ahead, but if we are able to move Williams-Whalen, I'm all for it. I guess one of the questions is exactly what remediation is going to be done with the $4 million. Is it simply cleaning up the land itself? Is it giving us and the housing authority the ability to place structures on the property, which means the timeline's all out of whack, because since no one has a plan that's been approved by anyone, I'm not sure how that works. But I think part of the confusion is we don't know what remediation is. I mean, we know what it means, but exactly what is the Resilience Authority going to do with that money? Or, well, I'll just ask that.
So the anticipated remedial options are the soil management plan that would be implemented to address any excavation and disposal of soil that would need to be done to facilitate the redevelopment of the property. So if you put in a building and it needs to take out a certain amount of soil, brownfield money would go towards paying the transportation and disposal costs of that soil, which is the biggest single cost associated most probably with the redevelopment of the site. It would also pay for capping of areas, so it can be used to the construction of a parking lot. It can be used for the construction of landscaped areas with an appropriate cap to eliminate any risk of reuse of the site. It can also be used to pay for vapor barriers that would be under any slab on grade or any occupied buildings to, again, eliminate risk associated with them. And would, if needed, it hasn't been determined yet because we haven't done the ecological risk assessment, but if there was any stream work that also needed to be done, it would also go to that, which are probably the 4 big buckets of costs associated with the site.
The top title on that list is remediation types, which doesn't suggest to me that we're actually going to do those things. We might do some of those things. Do we not have a plan that says once we get the money, these are the things that we're going to be doing? Or,
If you're going
or
to-
should the title change to steps of remediation of the property?
They could be happening concurrently depending on what the final development plan looks like. I believe if you're going to have a building on the site, you will inevitably need to do soil management plan. You will be doing capping, and you would be putting in a vapor barrier. So those are, you can expect to use all of those remedial options during redevelopment of the site. So what it's, I guess what what's not said there is that there's no remediation system. There's no active systems. The site is at a low enough risk where we're not doing a pump and treat system. We're not having to treat groundwater. We're not having to put in a methane collection system or things like this. These are really the only expected remedial corrective actions that would be needed to help the redevelopment, to go along with the redevelopment of the site.
So the grant for which we're applying,
Mhm.
the grantors don't care specifically how we're going to use the fund. They just want a general idea of these are the types of things we might be doing.
Correct. So they know that the city intends to redevelop the site in some fashion for some future use. The site has a certain amount of impacts to it from historical use and is going through the voluntary cleanup program. And that when we redevelop the site, we are asking for $4 million to mitigate the costs that are associated with the environmental quality of the site during the redevelopment, which is fairly typical for municipalities going to the Brownfield Grant Program. Like if you're renovating an old mill building or something of that nature, that they don't know what the final development plan is, but they know that they want to renovate it. And so EPA gives the grants to help facilitate that and move along the development of the site. So, correct, we don't have to have a hard and fast development plan in November when we apply for the grant.
Well, I would guess, and we've seen a lot of grant requests come before us over the many years. And this seems to be very different in that it's pretty vague, which is part of our problem, trying to figure out exactly what's going to be done and when. But if the EPA doesn't require any more, and I'm not questioning what you're saying,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, if the EPA doesn't require any more, then go for it. But it just sounds a little strange to me that they're going to give us $4 million with the idea that we're going to do some remediation. Maybe one of these, you listed probably 4 or 5 additional to the 5 that are listed here. And they're just going to give us the money and just, or maybe it's a municipality to, the feds relationship. And, but we don't know that relationship and the trust factor. And they're going to just give us the money and trust that we're going to do. And is the money just awarded, or is there a competition, or is it automatically, or what?
It's a heavy competition. It's a heavy competition, but they're not trusting us to just take the $4 million and do whatever. They are going to want regular updates and reports, including final reports about what they want to do. But I think there's flexibility because in the realm of environmental remediation, the goal is to just get the land clean. And so they want to be flexible to encourage municipalities to actually undertake these actions. If they make it so hard and fast that you have to spend all this money to get a development plan and design done, which is a lot of money, and then you apply for the grant and they start fussing with it, it doesn't encourage local governments to try to fix their problem areas if they make it too hard. So they want to give you the money, they want to encourage the remediation. They will be following along to see that the appropriate remediation is done, but they don't want to lock you in to a specific plan on an application deadline, because if that plan doesn't work, then the remediation doesn't happen. They'd rather give some flexibility so the remediation continues and governments have a little bit of breathing room to sort of pivot, but at the end of the day, you're ending up with clean property versus not getting clean property.
So it's definitely done as an incentive. And so at the state level, there's also the Brownfield Revitalization Incentive Program. It's a similar approach because they are wanting developers to come in on these. The definition of a brownfield is a site that has enough liability that anybody without an incentive wouldn't really want to redevelop it. So it's different than other grants in that way. Definitely, you're absolutely right that it doesn't have as strict a front end requirement. It's more conceptual, and it wants you to that you have an idea, and at the end of it, the site is cleaner. And so, yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask Alderwoman Finlayson's question again, which is, what is the Resiliency Authority going to do with the $4 million? Are you going to be putting asphalt and concrete and earth down? Is that what you will do? Or is somebody else doing that? I mean, my concept is that eventually this is the whole parcel. It'll have a vapor barrier everywhere and clean dirt where there aren't buildings or roads or things like that. Who puts the concrete or asphalt in? Is that the Resiliency Authority, or is that the city or the housing developer?
The developer who is selected their general contractor who does the construction would just, same as they're going to build the building, they'd be building the parking lot and they'd be doing the landscaping all as the general contractor.
We're talking about more than one developer, right? We're talking about a developer for the CNI or the HACA portion and a developer for the city, right?
Not necessarily.
So
It is possible, depending on how the CNI is set up, that the same developer, because for cost effectiveness and how grant funds need to be reported, splitting it into more and more people makes it much more expensive and much harder for granting purposes. So in theory, the city might not be getting its own developer. It might be working with HACA's developer, because from a cost perspective and a grant perspective, having two contractors on there essentially doing the same job, and you have to mobilize for two sets of teams, it's not an effective use of money. The better option is, I mean, you could do it that way. I'm not saying you can't, but a better option would be for HACA and city to get on the same page about a joint plan and to use the same developer contractor resources.
Sure, yeah.
So both HACA and the city and the Resiliency Authority, all three, could be giving money to a contractor, a developer?
Potentially, yes. I mean, also with a lot of,
So,
I mean, you have to understand the Resilience Authority is not contributing, as far as I'm aware, its own money. It's being used to get grant funds and pass
right.
them through. So that's the Resilience Authority's purpose, is to get the grant funds, to hold them, and to disperse them as everyone agrees. So that's pretty much their role. Their role is not actively in managing contractors or developers or any of that. What is going to have to happen, the Resilience will hold the money, but then HACA and the city, through the C&I process or other processes, are going to have to figure out how we actually want it developed, and then we will work with the Resilience Authority to disperse the grant funds.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's the rub, though, is we don't know.
Right.
We don't
It
know.
seems like-
There are a lot of unknowns, and you could have the.
well, there's one known.
Well,
One
What's
known
that?
we have is HACA isn't mentioned once in this document. Not once. There's no reference.
and that's one of the scenarios, though, because if.
Well,
for
yeah, because if you
example,
lock it in,
well,
then, I mean, if you put HACA in there, then you're locking
Yeah.
it in.
yeah, we need to keep our options open, because you could have a scenario where the housing authority C&I completely falls through, yet we may still want to proceed with
Correct.
doing
So,
it
for
on our
instance,
own, putting some housing on our own.
Yeah, if
so that's
C-
it's
if C&I falls through and HACA readjusts their plans to perhaps not include Spa Road, we could still have the grant that the Resilience Authority will be holding, and we might want to come up with a different arrangement.
yeah. That's why I'm trying to push to keep our options open. If
Now
we
I
can
understand. Thank you.
have separate. But to that point, I want to get clarity on Alderwoman Finlayson's question on Weems Whalen. So in your application for the voluntary cleanup program with MDE, is Weems Whalen, is it all together, the East-West and Weems Whalen, part of that voluntary?
Currently, yes, because Weems Whalen hasn't been recorded as its own parcel yet. And so
Okay,
you cannot apply to the voluntary cleanup program without a full legal description that's recorded.
when that is subdivided,
We'll
can
put
do
in
we
a
simply
separate
amend that
application.
Can we amend the application, or it has to be separate?
We would amend the current application and submit a new application for Weems Whalen as its own parcel and its own PCP participant.
Okay.
May I follow up? So who's responsible for the Williams Whalen piece?
The city.
The city.
Yeah, the city would.
Okay.
The city, we are not transferring the Williams Whalen piece to the Resilience Authority. That is going to stay with the city. So that will
Okay.
be our piece. And just also, it's sort of off topic, but I know you guys feel rushed. Part of the reason we're feeling rushed is because of the massive recent changes at the federal level. We have been working on this steadily because we've been doing all the phase twos. The reason we have to push for it now is because in April of this year, the federal funding for brownfields drastically changed. And as soon as we found that out, then we started shifting gears to try to come up with a quick solution to meet the November deadline. If things had not changed drastically like that, we probably wouldn't be pushing this fast. But because of that change in April of this year at the federal level, it shifted everybody's time. So that's the rush, is that the federal government drastically changed things just a couple months ago. As soon as we became aware of the change, which was a little unfounded in the beginning, we had to pivot like a full 180 to see if it was even potentially possible to get this through under the current things before the whole brownfield changed. And so I know that's why everyone feels rushed. We feel rushed too, because that was not our original timeline. Our original timeline was not to try to push this through this summer. And if we don't make it, then we'll have to rethink it. but we wanted to at least give it a good solid shot to see if we could get the brownfields money in the current funding setup before it just changed.
May I add?
Yeah, Matt, could you turn that mic off? I think it's off. Okay. We get a little bit of feedback.
From my perspective, I want to be clear. I am not in opposition to us transferring. I don't like the idea of the sale, but of us transferring the funding to the authority. I think my concern is we want to make sure we get it back. We want to make sure that the work is done in a timely fashion, which is why the amendment to change 7 years or less. But we just want to be clear. Too many times have we passed legislation and missed the unintended consequences. And after the fact, then it comes back to us, well, you all passed it. So we want to make sure that we understand what we're passing here.
And to that point, I guess now Alderman Arnett's amendment. Thank you. And that's why the language we offered is, our role with the Resilience Authority, and to add to Ms. Leonard's comment is, it wasn't until I guess June did we find out from EPA that we could act as that third party. So that's adding to this timeline. But to your question and to the language that in the amendment is, our role is specific, not to the environmental remediation, and even more so specific to this grant, because we were set up by you guys to help go after funding that the city is outside the bounds of the city. So here was an opportunity. So even if it's done before 7 years and we meet the terms and conditions of the grant for the environmental remediation, we're done. We'll certainly, I like this project. I like what the goals here are, and we'll continue to work with the city as we have on other projects to find other sources of funding, provide technical assistance to do what we do well. But we don't have to be the owner of the property. So that's where we really try to hone in on the comments we heard in the subsequent hearings or the prior hearings, to really hone in on that role. Is like, this is why we were created. Here's this opportunity, and as soon as we meet the terms and conditions, then our responsibility for the property owner, that property would then transfer back to the city.
I didn't have any, and I'm trying to find the amendments now. This is the Alderman Arnett's amendments now. That were the amendments that you submitted. Where's the original? I guess I did have a few questions, but I think you've answered it. Several of the whereases that you add are for historical reference. The I don't know which one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whereas that speaks to the execution of resilience infrastructure, which leads us to, I guess, the CNI project that I guess that's what that's referring to, right? Even though it's not in name. I'm on the original resolution amendments. I know we have several pages in the new one. Yes,
I should have my mic on. You're looking at Amendment 3. You're looking at
on page
3?
Well, you're looking at an
Four.
old version now.
aren't these this is from yesterday.
So, well, can we put a
Okay, you want to put a
pin in
okay.
that, just because one other piece of just one other thing I want to get clarity on before we go.
Okay, that's fine.
Because so I noticed that the application to MDE had a different description of intention than what we were described, than what was given to us on Wednesday. As far as that application listed housing on both sides, yet what was discussed on Wednesday was housing on one side and potential city facilities on the other. So is that why is there a discrepancy between the intended use and what's being moved forward with for the federal application?
So MDE identifies either residential, restricted, unrestricted, commercial, industrial, and recreation. And those are the 4 future use scenarios. They always, if there is any residential of any type, you need to submit, and it needs to be held to that risk level of residential.
Okay.
So since there was going to be some component of residential. We submitted it as a residential, unrestricted, or a restricted residential.
Okay. So if
Yep.
we end up doing more commercial on one side, that's not going to have implications on that
So
voluntary cleanup?
Not based on the results of the phase 2. No, it's going to be. I mean, we would be managing soil and capping even if it was commercial or if it was residential. So we could look at if it was subdivided and just the west side was residential. If anything on the east side falls out of, because you would then correlate the results to the MD non-residential soil standards. So there may be some areas that there are still going to be exceedances of the non-residential soil standards on the east side. So I don't think it's going to change that you would like all of a sudden not need to have soil caps or not need to do any soil management. But we would potentially look at that if we were to divide it that way: Williams Whalen Field, west side, east side, west side being residential, east side being commercial, and see if there was any change as far as commercial soil standards on the east side. I wouldn't, off the top of my head, I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to save anything significantly. We would still be doing these same remedial options.
I
But
just
yeah.
want to make sure we're not tying our hands.
No, you're actually providing more options for.
We can go
You can always
do
go
less
down.
if we need. If
Yes,
we
exactly. You can't apply as an industrial site and then all of a sudden say you want to do mixed use or something
Right,
like
sure.
that. Which, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So moving to the amendments. Let's see. We have amendment.
Can
Well,
I make a suggestion?
Yes.
there? I spent years in rulemaking in the federal government, and you're looking at different versions of the rules. And what I found most efficient is to pick one of the versions and bring over from the other versions the things that you want to do. I've read the whereas clauses. Actually, I don't see much conflict in either set of whereas clauses from version, the Savage or the Arnett. And in fact, I think they're all good. So I think they can all go into one of the other versions. I think the real meat is when we get to the actual ordinance itself, which is the 1 through 6, now 1 through 10.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So yeah,
I'm
gonna
confused. Tell me where we are.
I'm going to set
because-
aside the Finlayson Amendment 1 for the moment.
Why would we set that aside? Could we just
Be-
dispatch with that one?
Well, because for a number of reasons. One, Alderman Arnett's point is let's deal with the whereas potential changes to the whereas clauses first.
So we're not dealing with the specific amendment.
Yeah,
Well, we wanna be-
whereas clauses are amended.
Whose amendments? We
there
have
are
amendments 1, 2, and
I also think that this may get overruled by one of the later amendments, Resilience Authority amendment. I have to look, or maybe mine. But in any case, I think we could talk about the intent. But Alderman Arnett is proposing we first talk about the whereas clauses and then we talk about the hereby resolved.
I would prefer we deal with amendment 1, 2,
Okay.
or 3. Pick one, but just to pick pieces out of them, I don't think is very organized, to be honest with you.
All right.
Are we going to deal with amendments 1 or 2 or 3? Which one
think-
are we dealing with?
Well, so we can start with one, but I think that's
We don't have to
addressed.
start with 1.
Yeah.
If you think that that's going to change,
I think it's
in the-
addressed later. I would
That's
prefer to
fine.
start with the Amendment 3, which is the Resilience Authority.
Right.
Amendment 3, which is Arnett series of amendments. You turn to might be easiest, just look at the third page.
Right.
On the third page, you'll see 4 different whereas clauses proposed. If we could review those and see if we have any questions or concerns about those.
So can we just take the first? Oh, I only see 3.
Let me
Oh, no, you're
see.
right. There are 4. I have no problems.
If you
'Cause
flip
it's
the
my
page, you
amendment.
might see the blue. Does he have the one with the blue highlighted?
Yeah.
This
Look at-
one.
This is the one to you. That's the old.
Well, I want to make sure
Okay.
they're comparable. I mean, these are the ones the Resilience Authority gave us. These are the ones that Alderman Arnett gave. So
They're the
you want to
same.
dismiss?
These are the ones, these were
Okay.
revised by Resilience Authority and the law office after our conversation Wednesday. So these,
Okay.
They were cleaned up. to
Cleaned
put
up.
in your-
So the one from yesterday or 2 days ago from the Resilience Authority, we can dispatch.
Same
Okay.
content, just.
Yeah.
put
Yeah,
into the
pl-
right
please
format.
recycle.
I'm sorry?
Please recycle it.
Okay.
so looking
right.
at those four, remaining four other these four, see
Okay.
if we are okay with those.
Well, I commented on those yesterday and just say it's historical context.
Yeah, the first one talks about historical use. Second one, preparation of future use. City sought to investigate impacts. That's history, like you said. Third one says we just got a phase 2 assessment. Fourth one is also just historic, saying that the results indicate that remedial actions needed. So are we good with those?
I would move we accept those favorably.
Do that. Is there a second on those whereas?
That's what I said first. So yes, I'll second it.
Right?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. So moving on to the page. what
So
is that,
down at the
4?
bottom of the page, I would submit that we put the
I don't want to confuse. Is that from mine?
the other.
I don't want to. I want to
Oh,
see
okay.
if we
you
can get
just
action
wanna-
on the amendment.
Oh,
first
okay.
itself.
All right. So you're going to do the all the way through.
Yeah.
All right.
So moving to the
We're on number
yes,
6.
That's correct.
New
Number-
number 6.
So this does strike existing number 6, but that deals with the reverter clause, but that is relocated and reworded to new number 8. So if we start with number 6, that just establishes that Resilience Authority shall apply for the brownfield grant for the purpose of remediating contamination on the property pursuant to conditions and terms of the grant.
Mhm.
Any concern with that?
Well, it's not repeating it in total. I mean, it's added. I believe.
Old six is strict. and-
Number 8
What do you?
It's-
include.
Reverter was broken into paragraphs 8 and 9. So 8 says, they took out a year, which I
What?
suppose,
I'm
8
not-
says it's going to
I'm not
revert.
on 8 yet.
Okay.
Okay.
But
I wanna do
I'm just
number
saying
s-
6
number
got broken
6.
into 8 and
Okay.
9.
I'm
Just 6.
good with
6.
6.
Okay, you're with 6. Number 7 is Resilience Authority is successful in if the Resilience Authority is successful in obtaining a grant, that they shall make best effort to complete the remediation to the satisfaction of the grantor pursuant to grant conditions and agreement.
Good with it.
Any concerns?
Excellent.
Okay. Number 8. Now, this is the new reverter language, which says there shall be a reverter clause, providing that the property shall revert to the city upon acceptance of the remediation activities by the EPA, that they were completed pursuant to the terms of the grant. So basically, we're removing I don't mean this in a bad way, but the arbitrary 7 years and just saying when it's remediated, it's going to come back.
Yep.
Are we okay with that?
I'm good with that.
All right. Number 9, Resilience Authority. If the Resilience Authority is unable to obtain grant funding for the remediation, it will revert to the city.
Praise the Lord.
I'm fine with that.
I'm good with that. And the previous one eliminates the need for Amendment 1, which you referred.
And then number 10, the city shall be responsible for all the costs associated with the reversion of the property to the city of Annapolis.
What does that mean?
I
Is
mean,
that transfer costs?
yeah,
for
in
sale?
theory, it would be transfer and recordation costs, most of which we don't have to pay as a municipality.
Any other questions on that one?
Now, only in the fiscal impact note, what will it say?
What fiscal impact?
Well, we should have a fiscal impact note.
I
shouldn't we
mean,
not?
I'm probably going to be drafting the deed and I will run it around to recordation, and we don't really pay much in the way of transfers, so there wouldn't really be much of an impact, to be honest. Staff time. It would be
But
staff
you
time.
could give us a ballpark.
I don't
We
even,
need
I don't
something.
even know what my hourly rate is.
Well, that's on you. That's not for us to
Probably
figure
not very
out,
much.
you know?
More
I
than
suppo-
more than
I
hours.
suppose-
More than hours at least.
Finance could put in like 2 hours of my time. It wouldn't take much.
Well, I think, in our whole interest in putting this in as a requirement is so that staff is not
Yeah, I mean,
overutilized.
I can
So-
talk with finance, and I'm sure they know my hourly rate. And they can budget for a couple hours of my time, which will be significantly under a private attorney's hourly rate.
I'm sure Mr. Trudeau could give you a figure to put in there,
Yes,
but there
yeah,
needs to
yeah,
be
I-
something.
Yes, I will chat with him, but I mean, to be perfectly honest, it would be, basically just a quick 2-page deed, getting signatures, and then me walking it around. That's
Or
about-
running it around. If you,
Well, in this case, I probably wouldn't need to run, hopefully. I could
Okay.
just take a leisurely afternoon stroll
okay,
around
Jog.
Annapolis.
okay. But as long as there is fiscal impact, as there should.
And number 9 does parallel to from the original bill.
So I would have to
Okay.
walk it around twice.
Okay, this is going faster than I thought.
All right. So just one slight side note on fiscal impact note. I think that should get revised because right now the fiscal impact note only mentions the $1. If these amendments pass and the legislation passes, there will be other potential and a lot of unknowns, but it's always projected. But there could be costs associated with reversion of the property back to the city. Again, probably minimal. Sounds like a lot
Yeah,
may
I
not
mean,
be, but we may want to at least mention that there could be.
Okay, I'll talk with
Anticipated
Mr.
cost.
Trudeau and get him to budget in some staff attorney time.
And associated with that, with the other potential amendment 4, which we're not discussing today, that may be.
Yes, that one I have not had a chance to review yet.
All right, so I think we've made it through this amendment entirely. Any other questions on this Arnett Resilience Authority Amendment number 3?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question, even though it's
Okay.
not on the amendment. Are we going to take a position on the amendments we just approved?
I would like to, yeah.
Okay, I'll move approval of the Arnett amendment, and then I have a question.
All right.
No.
Motion's been seconded. All those in favor of a favorable recommendation for Amendment 3, Arnett Amendment, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. And then Alderwoman Finlayson, you have a
My
question?
question is on the whereas, the fourth from the end, before the now therefore. And the whereas reads, the
On
city
the-
council has determined that the property is no longer needed for public use.
On the legislation itself. We will get to that in my
Yeah, I was
amendment.
going to say that's an amendment too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be addressed.
Good question, but we will
Okay.
address that in a second.
May I ask Deputy City Manager Guile to look at the CIP to determine the funding for the Williams Whale and the timeline for it, please? Thank you.
Okay, and all right. So next amendment, I would like to discuss amendment number 2, Savage amendments, and these are revised. So flipping to page 2. Page 2. Wait a sec. I'm sorry, page 3.
Mhm.
Please flip to page 3, and you'll see. I'm going to make sure everybody's on the same right page. Next
Yep.
one.
No.
Oh, you got it on
I
that
have
one. Okay.
And that gets inserted.
Yeah, that's the page you're looking at.
A little different.
It sure does. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
I
it's
think
this one.
Yeah. That's better.
Keep
Okay.
trying until you find the right one.
All right. So looking about halfway down the page, you'll see I proposed to insert the word currently. And that has to do with
Okay.
your question, Alderwoman, about that line that says the city's determined the property is no longer needed for public use. I'd like to just put in currently because obviously our hope is that it will have public use at some point.
Find
Any
that one.
concern from the law office on that?
No.
comments on the committee?
Well, my question is, when the term property refers to what?
In
All-
the whole,
All three properties.
yes. Well, I mean, not Weems Whalen, because that's not going. So not Weems Whalen, but the other east and west side is what is the property.
Okay. How do we know that, though?
Because in going up on that page to the first whereas on that page, it lists all the different tax ID numbers and parcel numbers.
Okay, and so Williams Whalen is not part of the parcel that's referred to in the tax map.
Yes, Weems Whalen will be 935 Spa Road, Lot 2, and we only have Lot 1 in here.
Say that again?
So you have listed 932 going to Spa Road with one tax ID as parcel 62. And then you also have a sort of a no mailing address, but we kind of know it as 932 as well, Spa Road, but that's parcel number 358. Those are both on the west side, right? Yeah.
I'm not seeing those numbers.
And it's in, if you're on the page that Alderman Savage was reading at, you just go up.
Page 3 of
Yeah,
5?
page 3, the first whereas paragraph,
Right.
where it
that's
says
what
the
I'm-
city of Annapolis is the owner of certain real property located at 932 Spa
Okay.
Road, also known as tax map 51F, grid 1, parcel 62.
Okay.
And then semicolon, this next parcel doesn't have a mailing address. It's just Spa Road, identified as Anne Arundel County tax map 51F, grid 1, parcel 358. And that one has a different tax ID number. And then you have 935 Spa Road, Lot 1, which will be the piece that's right next to Weems Whalen, but not including Whalen. So the first two listings are the ones on the other side of the road, and then Lot 1 is on the Weems Whalen side. If we were going to include Weems Whalen, we would do 935 Spa Road, Lot 2, but we did not include that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
I know it's a little confusing because they all have overlapping tax ID numbers, which is why we have to put tax ID numbers and parcel ID numbers and mailing addresses to try and really zero in on what we're talking about.
Will we eventually give it a mailing address? I assume we will.
With the subdivision, once the subdivision is done, they will all get their own unique identifiers. That's
Okay.
sort of the purpose of the subdivision, is to clean up all of that.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and moving on to the next change, it'd be at the bottom of this page. It adds text to the last whereas, which says, City Council has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to sell the property to the Resilience Authority, adding the text that says, for the sole purpose of obtaining grants and funds to remediate the contamination on the property, and thereafter, having obtained sufficient funds, conduct remediation of the property.
I support that addition. I think. helps.
Second.
All right. I know it's redundant. But,
Position here is the there's only right now that we've identified within this ordinance that for the Brownsfield grants where we have to be the owner, where it benefits the city, we can still seek out and acquire funds from other sources where the city's the owner. So that's just offer that as a caution. If
Okay.
your goal was to really clearly identify our role specific and unique for this Brownsfield opportunity.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't limit it as far as like only getting grants for federal government. I think we're okay.
The limit is for the purpose of doing the transfer, not purpose of getting grant.
Right. Okay, so
And
now,
the word transfer is okay here? Or is it there? Wait a minute.
the
I
transfer's
used-
not there.
It's not there.
just,
I used it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. As I emailed today,
Yeah.
preference is sale, not transfer. Although I know we're uncomfortable with that. Legally, I don't want us to get in trouble when we apply for the grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Now
All
we-
right, so
now we
page
get to the hard part.
4.
It's just,
We
we're
got-
moving on. Well, we're
yeah.
not
Well,
taking
did
a
you have any
position
concerns
on.
on that
No,
one?
I'm fine. We're
Okay,
going
so
to
I think we're good with that one
take
too
them
then.
collectively.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next page, page 4, top. Original language says city shall be responsible for all costs associated with subdivision. Oh wait, that one was a
See, I
mistake.
think there's two ideas.
that one was a mistake. So I would like to propose for the record that that change be rejected.
Well, is this an amendment, an official amendment? I mean, you're the maker of the amendment.
Yeah,
You can-
that was a mistake.
Well,
Drafting. I mean, I said that with the wrong information. My fault. But this I would just like to strike.
well, there's two ideas.
No, it was, well, there are, but I put it in the wrong spot.
All right, so you don't
I
want to
just
do
want
that.
to take it out completely.
All right,
So are we going back to the original language, or are we
Yeah. Yeah.
removing two altogether?
which is the original language.
Original
which is in-
language. So
is in Amendment 3.
remove the blue in number 2, and then we'll unstrike in number 2. Revert to the, or basically no change via this amendment. Pretty makes sense to everybody.
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on to number 3.
Which is a new condition, right?
This one though, law office had a recommendation.
Well, I mean, you
Because-
can do a vote, but then in order to figure it out, you'd have to find meeting minutes that have been approved. We could just have them sign the deed. If they sign the deed, if we both sign the deed
Yeah.
of transfer, then you're automatically having a legally binding document that says they approved it. But that's up to you guys.
Yeah, so
But are we
for the
getting-
record, number 3 would say acceptance of the sale as demonstrated by an affirmative vote of the Resilience Authority. So you're saying that's kind of implied with the deed signature. So
Well, and it's actually more binding than a vote would be. If you have the legal authority actually signing the recorded deed, that is a legally higher binding precedent than just a vote at a meeting.
and Mr. Fleming, do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so
But aren't we stepping out of city council business and now into resilience
yes, so
authority
my
business?
proposal would be to strike this change from the amendment.
Oh, good.
I'm
Everybody good
pretty
with that?
sure I already put you guys on the deed. I think on the draft deed, I already had both parties
Okay.
have signature blocks.
That's
So I think-
fine.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it's already there.
Okay, so going down to the new blue number 7, which says during remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the Annapolis Heritage Commission and secure on-site archaeological consulting during excavation. This is an attempt to respond to the concerns we heard, or recommendation we heard from the Heritage Commission.
I would like to hear from,
Mr. Warden?
I'm sorry, I lost your name.
Matt's fine.
Matt, I'm sorry, Matt. Are you comfortable with this?
I mean, I think coordinating, being transparent, open, my guess is under the EPA grant, we'll probably be required to look at doing a NEPA. So there's going to be that is going to be required to begin with in the first place, or an environmental assessment. My one concern here is, to Ms. Leonard's point is, funding for this project, we're acquiring a grant for, so things that aren't covered by funding through the grant, we're going to have difficulty funding ourselves. So I want to make sure that's not implied here, that if this is not covered under the grant, that this is ensuring that we're coordinating and communicating and being accountable and et cetera. I think
Yeah.
that's fine. It's just the funding pieces, it would make me nervous from the Resilience Authority. And then I do think a lot of that does come out as part of the remediation.
Well, we can put, I mean, right now it just says Resilience Authority shall coordinate and secure. I'm happy to put in there, funded by the city as needed, something like that. And because I know it's implied in the grant, and it's going to be presumably included in the grant costs. I mean, could we use the grant to pay for these? It's the requirement, pay for archaeological services? No. Okay.
No, it would have to be remedial in nature to go to EPA brownfield.
But it's a requirement in the grant, but we can't use the money in the grant for it.
Sorry. If EPA determines it's part of the remediation required, then it could be included in the grant. But if the Heritage Commission wants to go above and beyond what EPA is requiring, then you're getting into the realm of who's covering that.
Yeah.
Because EPA has its own standards, and whatever they are will be included as part of the grant, and will have to be figured out that way. But the Heritage Commission doesn't necessarily work within the same
Can I
guidelines.
I want to, the intention with this is I want to be able to, I know some of it's implied, but I want to be able to make sure that we give respect to our city commission, that we're hearing them, we agree. So my colleagues, how about if we put at the end of that, say, a comma, and to say, with any associated costs being covered by the city as needed?
By the city or by?
By the city.
Okay.
Because it's our board. If we, and it wouldn't commit us to coordinate with them, with the commission, and we could say, and secure as needed.
I like costs covered by the city.
Also,
Very
not
comfortable.
not to negotiate against myself, but there also be sort of the issue of liability. If we're the ones, if the city is the one funding it and saying that we need to go out there, we would probably also have to accept any liability related to it. Realistically, we couldn't pass that off to our partners if we're the one directing it.
Can I speak to that? Because I thought
Yes.
we heard at the last meeting that DPW or whoever's managing.
I don't
this-
necessarily mean hazardous. I mean, they go out there and they trip and fall and break a leg, for instance. If we're the ones coordinating with a contractor to go out there and do these things outside the realms of the grant, then we have to make sure that we, mitigate our own liability and risk on our end and not push it off. Yeah, I mean, yes, in theory, we heard that from a hazardous standpoint, it should be fine.
Right.
But there's also just your regular, trip fall scenarios.
But does that need to go in here or is that?
I think
Something-
it probably needs to say that, that at city cost, and, I think it probably does, because otherwise you're
So
presuming.
cost and liability, is that?
If I may. Deputy City Manager Jackie Guile. I would suggest here, reading this, it's a little specific. It says on-site archaeological consulting during excavation. I don't know why it has to be that specific. I would say, and secure on-site archaeological consulting as required by the grant, comma, with any additional archaeological assessments and costs associated with them assumed by the city. Something to that effect.
Well, let me see.
As costs and liabilities assumed by the city.
Well, let me read back what I've written and edited. So it would be during remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the Annapolis Heritage Commission and secure any council required on-site archaeological consulting, comma, with any costs covered by the city. That allows, that basically makes it clear that we're not over committing at this point, but we're saying we're going to have to coordinate with the Heritage Commission, but the council is going to have to make a decision as far as if we want to spend money on any archaeological survey.
Anything in addition to what is already required by the grant.
Well,
Because there may be archaeological
I see.
conditions with the grant
With any costs covered by the city that are not already covered in the grant.
required by the grant.
All right, hold on. 14, not already.
So.
So during remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the Annapolis Heritage Commission and secure any council required on-site archaeological consulting not already required in a grant. Is that correct?
Not already covered by grant requirements.
Already covered by grant requirements.
May I ask a question? That sounds like we're adding another level. Does this mean that the Heritage Commission could require additional archaeological work?
Well, that is what it is.
This-
It's adding, the grant could.
It's not saying that.
Yeah, well, What it's saying is the option. It's not
Yeah.
requiring it. So the grant, as the grant progresses, will require certain things, and depending on what they find, they will may require certain actions or may not. But that might not be as much as the council would like to be done. So, you know, the EPA is looking for like a certain level. You guys might want to go above and beyond, and I believe Alderman Savage is trying to include an option to go above and beyond, but it would be at city, you know, city assuming cost and liability related to going above and beyond.
If the council agrees at the time
Yes.
with the
Okay.
recommendation.
Yeah. So it would be, it's an option to add, and yes, another layer.
Okay, well,
So-
my question goes back to Mr. Fleming. Is that a comfortable addition?
It wouldn't be a concern
Mhm.
for us. And then certainly anything activities not covered in making this site ready for the remediation, any of those activities that could be that fall outside the grant be covered by this. So yes.
But aren't there laws, like if you should all of a sudden during remediation find a burial, doesn't things have to stop by Maryland law if you're finding those kinds of things?
Correct, but that doesn't mean they would necessarily be covered by the grant.
No, I
Or the-
agree. Yeah, I know.
mean,
Just
yeah, there are extenuating circumstances that would go above and beyond what a Brownsfield grant would cover or envision.
yeah, I just don't want to gild the lily too much here. I think what we're doing, of course, I wanted to do a resolution to do that. But now on a process question, because I see this as something that can be inserted into Amendment 3 as a new number. And then we'll get to these last two, we'll see how that works out. And then, frankly, I would like to take a break and see Amendment 3 or 2, whichever,
I think
all in one piece.
I think I see where you're going. So
Yeah.
we could just have one giant amendment from
Yeah.
committee
Right.
at the end.
I'm
Right.
sorry. say
We
that
could
again?
have one giant amendment
Yeah.
from the committee. It reflects everything.
So you're
Instead of
talking
having-
about
So 1 and
merging all
2
this
get
into one?
subsumed into
at
3.
the end, but let's
That's fine.
finish. Okay. So if I could reread this language, I mean, it is kind of
Yeah,
gilding
if you
the
can.
lily, but
Getting this-
all
you-
right.
you
So
need to get this language.
okay, and maybe you can make a copy before I leave. So this is number 7. During remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the Annapolis Heritage Commission and secure any council required can't read my own handwriting on this. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So coordinate with the Annapolis Heritage Commission and secure any council required on-site archaeological consulting not already covered by grant requirements, comma, with any costs and liability covered by the city.
I'm okay with that. The only thing we add, not to confuse it, is during remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the city and the Annapolis Heritage Commission, just so that we know
Okay.
what's going on. Because I mean, just coordinating with the commission is great, but we probably also want to loop in city staff.
Okay, so one more time.
Okay, before you go on, I think the "and" should be changed to 2. Are you talking 2 different functions here in this sentence? I'm sorry, this is the English teacher. Are we talking 1? Are we talking
Yeah,
about?
you are correct. Yes, I'll make that a 2. Thank you. All right, I'm going to read it now. So new number 7 would be during remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the Annapolis Heritage Commission to secure any council required on-site archaeological consulting not already covered by the grant requirements, comma, with any costs and liability covered by the city.
Were we going to add "and the city" at the beginning?
Did I miss
So
that
that,
one?
yeah,
I
during
missed that.
remediation, the resilience.
I
Society
didn't want to
shall
interrupt your
coordinate with-
reading. But yes.
Coordinate with the Heritage Commission and the city.
Yeah. During remediation, the Resilience Authority shall coordinate with the city and the Annapolis Heritage Commission to secure any council required on-site archaeological consulting not already covered by grant requirements, with any costs and liability covered by the city.
Mr. Chair, what is council requirement? What does that mean?
Council required.
Council,
So we'd have to like pass a resolution or something at the time. If the Heritage Commission wanted to give us a recommendation, we'd have to take action.
okay.
I don't know what it would be. It could be resolution, could just be getting money put in the budget for $10,000 worth of archaeological consulting with associated, whatever the associated project would be. If it's CNI, we'd have to make sure the money, if we decide to go with their recommendation.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I think that'll help. I think that'll help with the Heritage Commission recommendation. All right. So we are good with that. Okay. So moving on to the blue number 8.
Do you not think that's covered by 8 and 9?
Yes, this one I think we can remove the proposed changes in blue and number 8.
So we're
Right.
going back to the original language?
Well, yes.
Yes, but you would also
Adding-
be going back to Amendment 3's.
No, we're not going,
Well,
well,
this has 7 years.
Correct. So technically, 8 should, for the purposes of his, if you're keeping these as separate, should go back to the original language, but then Amendment 3 would layer on to that and change it.
yeah, so what I'm proposing is we don't do this because it's already covered in 8 and 9 in Amendment 3.
Correct. Yes.
So you're suggesting we eliminate new number 8 completely?
Yeah, I'm actually suggesting we eliminate Amendment 2 completely and subsume it into, parts of it into Amendment 3. But in this specific instance, and not do that because it's done, and I think more thoroughly in Amendment 3.
I'm fine
Wait a
with
minute, I thought we eliminated Amendment 3.
What?
that. He's talking about Amendment 3,
The Arnett Amendment.
number 3. on
Okay, you're
the
talking about the Arnett Amendment.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. The Arnett Amendment. Now, this last one is interest.
Wait, hold on. Make sure we're on the same page before proceeding. So you're looking at number
I'm looking at 8 and 9 in the Arnett Amendment.
8.
Deed transferring the property
That-
shall include a reverter.
Oh, well, this actually, yeah, for number, you're looking at blue number 8. Yes, that's already addressed. So I'm good with removing that.
So which one, we're removing 8
Blue number.
completely?
Yeah.
Including the original language,
No, just removing the blue.
which means we're
keeping the
putting
original.
7 years back in.
No, it would be only the blue is going to take effect, and so it'll be overruled by Arnett Amendment, or it'll be combined. When we
Okay.
combine them, we're not going to change that with this particular.
Okay, so I want to be clear. So number 8 in your amendment, we're deleting all of the new language, which will take it back to its original, which would include 7 years. And that will be addressed in the Arnett Amendment.
That's correct.
Okay,
Starting with Arnett Amendment number 8.
Yeah. And
Okay.
okay.
So, all right.
So now this is a
So
juicy
now
one.
number 9. This is the one. It says Resilience Authority shall not pursue or seek development on this property, and shall. I think I wanted this one changed.
See, but they are doing development on the property, right? I mean, that's part of,
So I think this one I would want to bear with me here. If you read Resilience Authority, if we strike shall not pursue or seek development on this property, strike that, and strike
Well,
the
I have a
and,
question
and then say,
as you're
oh yeah,
talking through this. Is the Resilience Authority going to be seeking development?
No, they're seeking a grant. They're going to hold the money for us and then wait for our
Okay.
decision.
So
we
that's
have
a
to keep
given.
it.
That's a given.
I mean,
Right.
yeah,
That
you can
they're
put it
not
in there, but
going-
it is a given.
But the latter half of this is what you were talking about, transferring things as they're completed.
Yeah, but the first question is, does the committee think we should, even though it's kind of stated elsewhere, I think, do we need to state again that they shall not pursue or seek development on this property? Or
Well,
think
as,
they-
as long
already
as it's
covered.
clear that it's already covered, they are not going to be seeking development.
if it's already covered, we can just strike that shall, and then it'll read, the zones authority shall transfer the individual lots if remediated individually, and eventually the entire property back to the city upon completion of the remediation. It overlaps, it's redundant with some of the other language, but it does at least provide for the potentiality of the shall transfer individual lots if remediated individually. If they go ahead and do it collectively at the same time, not an issue, but this at least gives us the option if it's done individually.
And again, I asked Mr. Fleming, what's your take?
And again, I think thank you. I think we want to be clear that our activities are, our ownership of the property are specific to the activities covered under the grant on behalf of the city. So, remediation, I think we heard from the consultant, think could be done with the grant and the associated development. However, something comes up that requires extended remediation. I don't think we want to continue to hold the property until all that's completed. We wanted to, the transfer immediately as the terms of the condition under the grant, which requires their ownership, that they would transfer immediately back to the city, giving the city the most flexibility how they want to move forward. That makes sense. I think we covered that in the Arnett.
Yeah.
No?
Right. I mean, the sense of this to me is if the remediation is done in one place and we can go on and do more stuff with it, it'll be turned over. So it
Yeah.
can be turned over piecemeal. And I would suggest in the Arnett amendment that be inserted between 9 and 10, that this language.
Okay, well,
Can we
let's
just stick with this amendment
Thank
right
you.
now?
So
All
I
right.
think,
So,
not to
any
interrupt,
concerns
so
about that?
with number 9, we just want to be careful that, see, number 9 doesn't reference the grant at all. So the problem is if it's remediated, you're not saying if remediated through the grant, you're just saying remediated. So the problem is if the Resilience Authority is going to hold on to it, and as soon as the grant is done, it's going to send it back. This, in theory, could say that we don't get the grant, we remediate it through some other way. And so I think it adds a little too much flexibility in there because we want them tied to that Brownfields grant, and we want them to give it back in coordination with that grant.
Okay, how about if we just insert at the beginning to say, if the brownfield grant is awarded, the Resilience Authority shall transfer the individual lot remediated individually. That connects it directly to the brownfield.
I almost think we want to say transfer the individual lots if as sort of let's see, hold on, what's the
As defined, could we just add
as
a phrase?
completed, because I think you need something like the individual lots as complete, remediated as completed in accordance with the grant, because we
Or-
don't want to open the box for it could be remediated in a gazillion different ways. So it's almost like shall transfer.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So,
Because so I'm trying to match it with the other languages that they're transferring it back as soon as the grant is done, and we don't want them to wait for if we add extra funds to do additional remediation, we don't want to wait till that additional remediation is done. We want them to transfer it back as soon as the grant remediation is
yeah,
done.
so what if we say after remediated, the Resilience Authority shall transfer the individual lots if remediated as required, as
Defined by the
defined by,
grant.
Yeah, so
after,
You could say if
Terms of the
remediation,
grant.
you could say if remediation is completed per the grant requirements.
To what Ms. Leonard said, as you were talking about this, the development plan is evolving, and maybe you want to focus on one side first, or whatever, however that evolves. Is what we didn't say earlier is the grant itself will pay for design and engineering, So we can do the design and engineering. If there's a phase that's going to be developed way down the road, and that's part of the remediation, if what we can do under the grant can be completed within 4 years, and we don't need to own the property, we want to be able to turn that over to the city. That's why I think really tying it to Ms. Leonard's point, tying it to us meeting the terms of the condition of that grant is where we want to be able to do our job on behalf of the city, then step out.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, could we just add at the end of that amendment, as defined by the grant? Do we need more specifics than that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, so
I have
the
no
res-
idea what the amendment is.
It's a good idea.
the Resilience Authority shall transfer the individual lots if remediated individually under the grant, and eventually the entire property back to the city upon completion. I'm trying to think. I don't know if my brain on a Friday afternoon can work through. I would say what about if under the grant individual lots are remediated individually, then the Resilience Authority shall transfer those individual lots back upon completion of remediation activities under the grant. Something like that.
Can you say that again?
Let's see if I can remember. Yeah, if under the grant, let's see, if under the grant remediation is done to individual lots, then the Resilience Authority shall transfer the individual lots back as each is remediated pursuant to the grant agreement. Or something
Right.
like, because what you're trying to say is if we break it apart under the grant into individual lots, then you want, as each piece comes done, but I honestly, I don't know if the EPA would allow that or not. If it's all under one grant, they may not allow that to occur as well.
Right.
I mean, even if we break it into individual lots, they might make us hold it.
So
Are you using
isn't
lot
that
in-
why?
Well, I mean, it was the lot in here, but essentially it's parcels, I guess.
Do we have
But isn't that
parcels?
why we say as defined
I mean,
by the grant?
if I was going to go with it, I think I'd rather stick with what we agreed to in the Arnett amendments, just because realistically, even if different parcels under the grant go through different processes, I don't think, generally when I look at grants, they generally don't release the whole grant until it's all done. So I don't think we could even realistically, I don't think you could release them unless we're applying for individual grants for each
Okay.
one.
How about this? If you bear with me, if we go back to Arnett Amendment 8, which says the deed transferring the property shall include a reverter clause providing that the property shall revert to the city of Annapolis upon acceptance by the EPA that the remediation.
Activities
Oh, yeah, I'm
working
sorry. I
group?
read too far. Starting over. The deed transferring property that shall include a reverter clause providing that the property or properties shall revert to the city, blah, blah, blah. Can we just put or properties in case it is,
But there's,
in
In
case it is
capitalized
subdivided
city,
and
circling that. Keep going though.
is that,
We have those
I mean,
editorial
we
changes.
technically all of those properties should be capitalized because we define it above as like a joint. I think realistically, from a legal standpoint, if we're applying for one brownfield grant, they don't care how the parcels are sped out. They're not going to release the grant till everything is done, and we won't be able to transfer ownership of any of it back until because that would sort of they want.
Okay.
They don't look at it as like you can just pull pieces out. Granting authorities want the whole thing to stay as it is, exactly as you present it to them till it's all done. And they don't want portions of it, even if those portions are done, they don't want any of it being pulled out because they're going to want a final report for all of it. So
we can't
unless-
do this.
so unless we do individual brownfield grants for each parcel, which
yeah.
I don't think we're going to be able to pull any parcels out early. Just the way grants are naturally set up is that you start with these parcels in, you have to end with all those parcels together, they close out
Okay.
the grant, and then you can do what you want.
All right. So, and that's okay. That's fine. I mean, if that's a if that's a requirement of the grant, then it's a moot point. We can just.
I mean,
strike it.
that's generally how all grants work at all levels.
But I'll say though, I mean, we potentially, so we could potentially be in a situation again, if CNI falls through and we still want to move forward with remediation and or development of city, we might end up remediating one side and then capping the other. I mean, per the grant.
Yeah, we might, again, in those instances, we'd have to probably amend our grant application, and then we could always do a confirmatory deed that, changes what happens here. But I don't, at this point, since we want to put them all in, we want to put all of our chips in with this grant, we can't pull them out yet. That doesn't mean that down the road, depending on how things shake out, we couldn't do a different deed
Okay.
to pull it out. It's just, we're presenting this to the EPA as we would like all of these to be fixed.
Understood.
And that's how we have to sort of keep it.
Okay. So let's, okay, that's fine. So let's just strike blue number 9 then.
All right?
On which one?
Blue number 9 on Savage, Amendment 2.
Okay,
Good?
I'm good.
All right.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
With what Ms. Leonard just described to us, does that mean that work cannot begin on another one of those properties, even while we're under the guises of the grant?
No, not necessarily, but the grant has very strong restrictions about who owns it. So that doesn't mean, it's one of those things we're going to have to work through with the EPA because this is a living and breathing project. It doesn't mean we couldn't do that, but what it does mean is that they want property ownership for all the parcels that you want to remediate to stay with that one person all the way through. So it could limit it, it could not, it just.
But couldn't the Resilience Authority grant us permission to develop on their land?
Correct. Yes, that would be some sort of possibly a lease or, yes, we could come up with some sort of agreement for that, yes.
All right.
And we
Thank
probably
you.
will need a lot more legal agreements to get
Right.
this all flushed out.
Someone asked me earlier if the candidates for mayor were invited to our meeting. Because they're going to have,
They would run away.
whomever they
Run
are, they're going to have some work, I'll just say.
All right. So there's one more on this.
Yep, I like it.
So we deleted 9.
Yeah. So going on the same page,
Okay.
going down to the new, it says section 2, and be it further established and ordained by the Annapolis City Council that prior to any submission of development plans to the city's Department of Plan and Zoning regarding development and or remediation of these properties, a work session shall be held with the council in concurrence with the development plan sought from the city council via resolution.
I'm all for it.
It's reasonable to
legal?
me.
We
What-
probably need to do it anyway because we're
Yeah.
going to have to, if we're doing like the CNI grant, we're going to have to run
Right.
that all through
Right.
you anyway. So, I don't have any concerns with it.
Okay. All right.
So I would argue we approve that and insert it in Amendment 3.
All right. So then these are okay. Can we get a motion then on what we discussed for amendments?
Only if you can repeat
Actually-
them all.
Actually, I can repeat them, and I was going to propose.
No, not you.
No, I was going to propose it differently. I was going to propose that we change our net Amendment 3 on page 3 to add currently in that one whereas clause.
Well, what I would like to do is vote on what we discussed, and then we could just get one
Okay.
amendment,
All right.
collect them all.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll
committee
move
amendment.
approval of the minutes on
Me-
to the Savage
Amendments.
amendment.
Amendment.
What did I say? The
Minutes.
Yes, the amendments. I was hesitating because we've made changes
Well, yeah.
to those amendments as they were written. But my motion is that we approve the amendments, the Savage amendments, as discussed.
No. And I'll tell you why I don't think so. That when we go to the council, if we have all of this stuff that we're having so much trouble tracking here. I would really like to go to the council with one amendment that includes.
Yeah, that's what
That's the
amend-
next
that's
step.
what, yeah, that's the next step. I
That's
want
the
to
next
approve
step.
these individually and have them reflected in one committee amendment,
Okay.
one kind of omnibus amendment.
All
Mr.
right, I
Chair,
think
that
we're
was
going
my
to the- I think
intent.
we're going to the same place, so I'll
Yes.
second.
Okay.
So we can approve the Savage amendments, and then we go back, we cross-reference the Savage amendment and the Arnett
the Arnett.
amendment, and come up with one set of.
Joint
See,
active committee
that-
amendment.
I don't know why we're doing that, but I'm not going to argue.
It's the same thing you're saying. You want to group in Arnett
Yeah,
amendment,
And then just vote down amendments 1 and 2 and have
but
amendment
it can't
3.
be yours. It's because it's a committee action. It's going to be amended by the committee.
Yes, okay.
So it
Yeah,
it
no,
doesn't
it'll
matter to
be
me
the-
if you want it to
it'll
be in our.
the environmental, no.
It could be an Arnett
No, I
amendment.
don't want my name on any of this.
All right, there was a motion to recommend, I believe, both amendments.
The
As-
Savage amendment.
Savage amendment. Okay. All those-
Amendment is
and it
amendment.
was seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And for staff, we would like both amendments 2 and 3 as modified by the committee to be reflected in one committee amendment. And at the council meeting Monday, I'm just going to remove one amendment, or
Well-
hopefully.
Well, Mr. Chair, we should do that now. So I would
Okay.
propose that we discuss Amendment 3, which would be the committee amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
The committee amendment,
To be
though, that
drafted.
has the following changes to it as it exists now, which is, the pages here aren't numbered, but it's the third page.
I don't think we need to go through that now. I will give these notes to staff and they can review the record to make sure the joint amendment reflects everything that's discussed.
Mr. Chair, I'm not clear on that as a process then, because we don't have an Amendment 3 from the committee. And just giving staff these notes doesn't mean a thing.
Well,
I
it's
think
just
we
a-
need to
okay.
come up with what Amendment 3 looks like. Which of the amendments from the Arnett Amendment and the Savage Amendment are we keeping as our amendment?
That is why what I would ask we do is to find out from probably staff, from Ms. Ryder, can we very quickly combine all the things that are what was called the Arnett Amendment with things that were brought over from the Savage Amendment, get it cleaned up and printed so we can look at it today?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. It's our,
Well, I'm not going to agree to a committee amendment if we don't know what they are.
yeah, I can read through them. So the motion will be, if you look at amendment 2, I'm just going in order here.
Of which amendment?
look at
So
amendment-
the
amendment
Arnett
2
amendments
is-
or the Savage amendment?
Amendment 2 is Savage, but it doesn't, we can start with the Arnett amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do
Arnett
that-
amendment is number 3.
Right.
So if we look at the Arnett amendment,
Look at page
look at
3.
page,
That whereas
yeah,
no
page
longer we
3.
should currently.
I believe you're
Hold on.
accepting all of those, aren't you?
Sorry? Yeah, hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Your motion would be to accept all of the Arnett
We'll
changes.
accept all of the Arnett changes with the addition of following changes amended in Amendment 2, which is the Savage Amendment, would be adding currently into the 4th whereas, as stated by the committee. And then in the last whereas, adding a sentence that says, for the sole purpose of obtaining grants and funds to remediate the contamination on the property, and therefore having obtained sufficient funds, conduct remediation of the property.
Okay, we need
Right.
to stop, because I don't know what we're doing. Okay, so are we saying that we're accepting, I'm talking about the committee's recommendation. Okay, so of the Arnett amendment, we are accepting all of the amendments on page 3,
Yes. And page,
All the Arnett amendments.
all of the Arnett amendments.
Right.
So what we have to interject into those amendments are the Savage amendments.
correct.
Okay, so which of the Savage amendments are we putting in and where do they go?
It includes, if you look at the whereas section, page 3 of the Savage Amendment, it
Okay,
includes the currently, the fourth whereas, it includes the blue currently
right.
that is listed after needed. It would
So-
include, but if you're looking at the last whereas, it would include all the blue text on the last whereas as written.
Okay,
On
so
the
does
Savage
this
Amendment, this one.
become the last whereas in the Arnett Amendment?
Correct.
Yeah. And then if you flip the page on the Savage Amendment to page 4, it would include a new, you go down to number 7, that's the one that would say during remediation, resilience authority shall coordinate with the,
Okay, wait a minute. I'm
That-
going back to currently.
That should probably, so Savage's 7 should probably be the new 8, and then 8, 9, and 10
Why
should be
not?
renumbered.
Why not after the current 5 and before all the new 6 and 7?
look, I mean, the order doesn't really matter to me. I think that could be determined by law.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
I
I was just going,
make
because
the-
technically,
sort out
6
and
is
draft it.
applying, 7's if they're successful, 8 would be coordinating with the Heritage Commission, and then a new 9, 10 would be the 2 reverters, and the new 11 would be the final
Yeah.
cost.
That can be sorted in drafting,
Right.
but it would be that one I read out earlier. Do you want me to read that out?
No, I
Okay.
just want to know where it goes.
You want to know?
I want to know.
I
It's
would
your choice.
recommend that it is a new
Yeah.
8, new number 8, and that the 8, 9, 10 in Arnett are renumbered one
Okay,
down.
let's start with 7 out of the Savage Amendment.
I think that's the only one that's adding.
That's the one
That's the
going
only
on.
one.
So
One's
where are
going.
we putting that?
I would put, if you're going to put it, so under the Arnett, you were up to 10. You have 1 through 10. I would suggest that the Savage 7 gets inserted as the new 8, and that the Arnett 8, 9, 10 paragraphs get renumbered down 1 or up
So
1.
new 8 is the Savage 7.
Yes, and then 8, 9, and 10 in Arnett would become 9, 10, 11.
So 8 becomes 9, 9 becomes 10, 10 becomes 11.
Yep. And then
Okay.
the only other thing is inserting the new section 2 in blue from Savage
Yep.
to the Arnett Amendment. Probably between the,
And do you law
Last.
office have a recommendation on where that would go?
I don't know. I think it.
It would have to go before.
I mean, I
That
think
this
where
shall
you
take
put
effect.
it
Okay.
is fine.
Where it's-
So
okay.
it would be the second to last section 2
Okay.
paragraph.
Okay.
I think that's it. So my amendment essentially only has 4 changes.
Hmm.
So is that?
Okay, so that's Savage page 4. And the section 2, right?
Yeah.
And you can have as many section 2s as are needed.
I would defer to Cynthia on that. I mean, I don't honestly know off the top of my head.
Better
I would maybe recommend whether we need to renumber those as sections 3, 4, 5. But again, I'm not the expert on that formatting.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because
to
right
me.
now we have 4 section 2s. I don't know whether that matters or not. Doesn't does, but
Doesn't matter. It should be section 2.
Okay. Can we get that
so you'll
included
fix-
in the?
Can you turn your mic
New
on,
amendment.
please? She doesn't have.
doesn't have, we're spending $200 million a year and we can't even have enough. Just-
We're not spending $200 million a year on this council chamber, so don't even go there. We'd be living in
He
another
wants,
world.
he wants gold rimmed.
He wants those pictures back, but I want him to go on that wall so he can look at them all the time.
That Cynthia's
I'm sorry.
speaking to.
Cynthia Reuter, legislative and policy analyst for the Office of Law. It should, yeah, you're correct. There should not be that many section 2s. It should be section 2, A, B, C, D, and then a section 3, which is the enacting clause.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll put it
So
where
those
it's
would be-
supposed to be.
That would be
Yeah.
revised in the
Labeled.
committee amendment. All right.
Okay.
Is committee members good with that language?
Then, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation to amendment the environmental matters amendment.
I think that would be Amendment 4.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Now, is there a motion on the legislation as, well, sorry, before we do, there was a Finlayson Amendment 1, but again, I think that was,
I think I will withdraw Amendment 1 because it's already taken care of in the environmental matters.
can we get that removed from the record to reduce confusion? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
And are
Yeah.
we removing Amendment 2 also then?
Well, that's up, you're the sponsor, so do you want to remove Amendment 2?
You're the sponsor of Amendment 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, I am.
Savage, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to withdraw my Amendment 2 in lieu of the new
And
committee
and
amendment,
Alderman
and then
Arnett is
Alderman Arnett.
withdrawing 3.
And I'm withdrawing 3 in favor of the
Committee.
New
environmental
amendment,
matters
right.
omnibus
Right.
amendment.
Okay. No,
No,
withdrawn
gone.
2.
all of them. The only
One,
one
two.
is the environmental matters amendment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as all the others disappear.
Is there any other discussion? Well, before we make a motion on the entire legislation, is there any other discussion?
No, I just like to thank everybody for
Yeah, me too.
indulging us for the last 2 days. I know it's been painful, but it's been painful for all of us, so we share our wealth. Sorry.
If any candidates
But I
would
think
attend, they would be
I do
scared
want to
off.
recognize because some of us have made some snarky comments about us getting this. I did not realize that you also were having everything changed on you at the last minute. So I withdraw any snarky comment.
That ditto.
We meant to mention that earlier, but it's just one of those things. This has just sort of been a run to catch up with what's going on at the federal level. But
Yeah.
yes, it's sort of caught us all by surprise, and we understand the frustration level on all levels of us trying to get this done on new timelines.
Okay.
And I already sent out my constituent email, but I think we do need to have some preamble at the council meeting. I'm assuming this will now go on the agenda for the council meeting. And I think we need to have some introduction that tells people this isn't the way we normally do business. We're under the gun, and we've had a lot of people put in a lot of time to make this flow properly.
Yeah.
Because there are snarky comments in all the social media.
Well, maybe we should ask the mayor and or the city attorney to be prepared to make those remarks.
I think we should. This
Well,
is
I think we should do. I think we should do a press conference, press release. But anyway, I mean,
Sure.
I mean, this
especially when
is a
it's
big
done.
deal for the city of Annapolis and housing and cleaning up a mess and so forth. This is worth the effort.
so can I ask the city manager's office? What are your thoughts on getting a press release? Or trying to think. I think it's worthwhile to express how we are seeking grant funding to remediate the properties.
If the Resilience Authority doesn't have any objection to it, I don't think it's going to impact our grant in any way. I've not seen any problem with it.
I would want our PIO to run it by because she's the expert at how
Yeah, yeah.
to do those things. I don't have
Mhm.
my expertise is not press releases.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Once this ordinance passed.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think it
Yep.
was. Yeah.
Make sure your mic is on, or
Sorry.
speaking to the mic. please.
Well, I should be careful because I can't recall 100%, but I think there was an article in the Capitol that talked about, our potential partnership in exploring an EPA grant,
Okay.
maybe 2 weeks back.
All right. So is there a motion on the legislation as recommended for amendment?
I move we recommend favorably on the ordinance as amended by the Environmental Matters Committee.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anything else for good of the order? Am I missing anything?
Let's all repair
That's it.
to the yacht club for a drink.
Yeah. All this, I realized I completely forgot about lunch. But anyway, we're all set then. I am going, motion to adjourn?
Move- Did he make it?
No.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.